This is sadly what happens when women respectfully decline a man's advances.
Okay, if you haven't watched that video, go watch it right now. But to summarize, this man was unable to take no for an answer and decided to pull out his gun on these girls. I'm honestly at a loss of words. Can I say I'm surprised? No. Can I say that I'm disappointed? Yes. It shocks me sometimes that we're living in the 21st century and some men still feel that entitled to not be able to take no for an answer. Like, it's scary to me the level of entitlement you need to be at to not be able to accept rejection. And these types of videos just further go to prove why the feminist movement is still needed today. So the next time you think about bashing a woman for being a feminist, maybe go watch that video first so you can realize what we experience on an everyday basis.
What's an opinion you have that might piss some people off?
As a woman of color, I'm actually more on guard when I'm with white women and men of color than when I'm with white men. That's not to say I trust white men, but they understand the power dynamics of society. Historically, they've always made sure they have the upper hand. And so when it comes to them and I, we know where we stand. White women and men of color, though, although both oppressed, have an inkling of privilege. White women have white supremacy, men of color have the patriarchy. And you would think they would use those privileges for good, having known what it's like to be oppressed. But many, not all, but too many, aren't interested in dismantling the systems of oppression. They just want to benefit from it. And so they will flex their privilege to assert themselves. And it's usually at the expense of women of color. And so it hurts more because they're supposed to be on our side.
One of the most insidious and ridiculous effects of the patriarchy is literally women paying 50-50.
There are sociological studies that show married men are happier than men who are not married versus married women being unhappier than women who aren't married. So it is fair and accurate to say that marriage is an advantage to men and a disadvantage to women in terms of happiness. There are also studies that show that regardless of job status, women in households are still doing 90%, if not all, of the household chores. So that is regardless if she is a stay-at-home mom or whether or not she's working a 9-to-5, 40 hours a week full-time. So it is fair and accurate to say that women are the primary caregivers of their children and husbands and households. So yeah, paying 50-50 is a complete scam when women have always done and are doing more work than men, and they're less happier than men.
Men or even little boys are when men or even little boys are assaulted by women, it is not regarded as a tragedy or a trauma. In fact, it's often viewed as an accomplishment.
That example right there was one of the best examples to understand why I think we need to change our understanding of patriarchy if we want to properly analyze gender's role within society. See, patriarchy shouldn't be understood as some society in which men got together and deemed men superior to women, because in actuality, that's just a manifestation of what patriarchy actually is. See, patriarchy is a specific social structure that places expressions of masculinity and supremacy to expressions of femininity. What's the important difference there? That example right there shows us the difference, where a man who expresses a certain feminine response to trauma, i.e. an emotional reaction, is ostracized for it. See, that's what patriarchy is. It's dispersed, it's pervasive, it kind of latches onto our internalization of gender norms and places them on a value scale. More so, if we use this understanding of patriarchy, it also has more liberating potential. Because now, instead of liberation being viewed as woman being equal to man up here, now true liberation is actually the abolition of this scale in the first place, where our bodies and our expressions of our bodies are no longer categorized and then controlled.